Hey guys, Jack Spirko here. I'm going to do some videos on some common things that I get questions about inside of permaculture. And today's subject is going to be swales. And I really think that I get the same questions so often. If I could put together a small series of videos for you that will allow people to just, kind of look that video up and get that answer, that'll help me help you move along faster in your design decisions. So today, again, I want to talk about swales, and the most common objections or questions that I get about swales are, but my land's totally flat, it's all sandy, all the water infiltrates anyway. Okay, first of all, none of those are actually true. They are apparently true to you, and they very much are true in minor rain events, but we all get major rain events. And one of the things that we need to understand about swales, other than that they are really optimum tree growing systems, not gardening systems, but tree growing forest establishment systems, is that they are not really designed to do a whole lot in most minor rain events. They're really optimized to do great work in major rain events where you do have water moving, you do have water flowing, and you do have the opportunity to retain that water into the landscape instead of have it run away. So water infiltration indeed is a key reason we put in swales, but there's 4 other reasons that are as important, if not more important, as to why we put swales in. The first one is erosion prevention. So even when you have relatively flat land, in major rain events, you end up with washes and gullies and places where all your fertility and all your soil is going away. And the longer that goes on, the worse the problem gets. And we end up losing a lot of the fertility that we're trying to hold in the land due to erosion. People say, well, I have sandy soils. Well, it's one of the easiest to erode soil forms that we have. So if you have sandy soils, sometimes, not all times. And again, what I'm saying here is these are the considerations when you're choosing your design patterns and your design elements. Not to do swales, just to do swales, but think about these things in your design. But when it comes to having erosion problems, these sandy soils that everybody says just infiltrate water so easily, they're the ones that erode the fastest. They're the ones that we lose the fastest. They're the ones that we need to do the most amount of organic matter infiltration, not just water infiltration, and swales assist with that because the next thing that swales do that people overlook is they capture and they spread fertility. On my eastern pasture, we put in a food forest based on 3 swales. The ducks spend a huge amount of time over there, and they poop all over the place. Whether they're pooping in the swales when they're full of water, or whether they're pooping in when they're empty, or they're pooping on the outside of them that's then being washed in during major rain events, that fertility is then captured in that swale, and then on the next major rain event, it's spread out evenly, and it creates a nutrient cycle through the entire property rather than being focused on a single area. So fertility, spread, and capture. And if you're using livestock in your design, that is one of the big things that swales will do for you, or you can go out there and spread manure around, or you can let the swales spread it for you passively. The next thing is filling dams. If you're going to be putting ponds and dams in, unless your land just doesn't allow for it due to constraints, swales make a ton of sense because what they do is they take the catchment area for a dam that's maybe this big and they reach out and they pull water from way out back around and fill that dam. Then what we have is the option to decide based on where we place the sill, which is the overflow point in that swale, where exactly is that water going to overflow? We can let it overflow right near the dam like normal dam installations generally do, or we can have that water overflow 100 yards away or 1,000 yards away, and there's no reason with the right landform, and if we have access and control of the land, we could actually have that water overflow when that dam exceeds its capacity over a mile away. And think about how much work happens when we do that. How much distribution of that fertility occurs when we do that. And how much more we can keep that dam serviced through a dry period when we do that. The next thing is creating patterns. When we put swales in, they're going to be on the contour patterns of the land, or they're not swales. I mean, that's what makes them swales is that they're on contour, right? So since they're on contour, they reveal that pattern to us. So even if you're not going to put swales in, you might go in and stake out swales and say, hey, what is the actual pattern of the land? You pull up USGI and you look at the contour map, and over a large landform, it's somewhat accurate, but a lot of you guys are working on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 acre plots. That contour map gives you the macro, but the micro contours have been created by erosion, by fill dirt, by trees pushing landforms up. That's not on there. Once you see that pattern, you may realize, hey, there's an optimal pattern here that can be, can be harnessed. That normally you wouldn't think a swale would do much, but oh look, there's all this hard catchment here, there's all this hard catchment here, and there's a contour line that goes right past those two catchment areas. Now what that means is I can take all that catchment, I can put that into a swale, and I can use it to do that spreading of fertility. So these are the things that need to be considered when you consider swales as a design element in what you're doing. Again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying do swales everywhere. We do designs that have swales in them. We do designs where it doesn't make sense, where it's a small backyard design of a 1/4 acre, and the easiest, lowest input, high return of investment solution is sheet mulching for the whole thing with basic irrigation. And yet you still find yourself going, well, we can create a little path there on contour that'll go out to that tool shed. That's a swale-like feature in the landscape that reduces erosion, captures fertility, and sometimes even fills little garden ponds. So there you go. Hope that helps you, and let me know what other questions you have. I'll try to make videos like this maybe a couple times a week.